Is he ghosting you? Or is it something deeper? Is it a deeper insecurity that is coming through into the surface that's causing you to panic and not feel connected? Let me clarify a couple of things. Firstly, men are not the only ones that ghost. Men are not the only ones that do not communicate with clarity, that are potentially are dishonest. Women are not the only ones that feel insecurity. My hand's straight up here. For so much of my life, I have felt insecure about who I was, who I've been, the skills or the value that I brought to relationship or to life, and I masked that with false bravado, with ego, with attempting to look better than I actually was, with people pleasing, with being aberrant, with being abrasive, with just protecting myself and armoring my heart. So let me be very clear. We all feel insecurity and we all sometimes just do really nasty shit. Well, not all of us, but sometimes we mean to do it and sometimes we do hurt other people without intending to. But let me ask that question again. Is he ghosting you, or is there a deeper insecurity that's coming to the surface that's forcing you to panic and be disconnected from your body and what's happening in the situation? Let's look a little deeper, because maybe that person that you're interested in, that you're communicating with, that you're sharing yourself vulnerably with, is ghosting you. Maybe they are either really shy themselves, or perhaps they're just malice in their actions. They've just got other people on sex rotations and you are just falling through the cracks. And that could be a very real thing. And I empathize with that. And I don't want to take that pain away. I'm not speaking to that person who is really being ghosted by someone, or who is not being given the respect and the dignity to have an honest conversation. I'm speaking to that person that maybe panics a little bit too much here in the body, that overthinks and creates stories when maybe you're reaching out to someone, you're sharing yourself vulnerably, you're showing interest in them, you're wanting to connect with them emotionally and intimately at a deeper level. And you're texting them, or you're calling them, or you're writing them, and they're not getting back to you. They're not responding in a way that you feel is reciprocating your level of interest. And then your mind starts to wander. Then you start to think, do they like me? Am I coming on too strong? Am I too much? You start doubting yourself. But hold on, I only messaged him yesterday and it's not, is it hard to message me back? Whatever it is, whatever internal narrative you have, where is that coming from? Because we can't control what's outside of us. We can't control what we don't have direct access to, but we can be in greater mastery of what's happening in our hearts and in our minds. And maybe if you keep peeling back that story and you're telling yourself you're worried that they don't like what you said. Maybe you said something in that text message or in a conversation that you had and it didn't align completely with them. You disagreed with them. Now, you didn't disagree in a negative way. You didn't disagree in an abrasive way. You weren't abusive towards them or slandering or judgmental towards their perspective. You just shared yours. And because you knew they shared a different perspective and they disagreed with you, maybe talking about politics or religion or family or whatever it may be, or some type of value that interests you, you now worry that because you disagreed with them, they're not seeing you for who you truly are. And then you're shooting yourself in the foot and you're thinking, you're kicking yourself. Should I have said something? Should I have just kept my mouth shut? Should I have just shared the opinion that they shared and just be agreeable? But where's that coming from? Where's that sense of insecurity coming from? Whether someone's not responding to you and your self-worth lowers, or whether you just openly and very politely disagree with someone and then you think that they don't like you or that they are now angry with you, but they're not sharing that, but you're creating stories in your head about this. Where does this come from? You're not crazy. You're not mentally deficient. You're not losing your mind. But there's some old patterning that's coming up. Maybe as a child you were bullied. Maybe you fought to be the popular person at school. Maybe you looked up to people and you saw people that made more money or that had a greater status or that were more attractive or that you perceived to be more attractive. You perceived to have all these qualities that were more or better than you, as better than you. and you succumbed to that. You lost yourself in that. You contorted yourself to fit in the mold of what that person wanted you to be or what you thought they wanted you to be. And the moment you either speak your truth because you're exploring that now as you're developing yourself at greater levels, or you're being vulnerable and open with someone and sharing yourself, and it's not being reciprocated in the way that has to confirm for you that you're safe and your worth is grounded in something substantial, you start to panic. But if you take a moment and just breathe and look at some of your patterns, look at some of your past friendships, some of your past relationships, look at some of the fears that you have. Look at the fact that you just took a risk in being vulnerable or speaking your truth or being active and reaching out to this person that you're interested in romantically. And maybe because you've done something that's been outside of your norm, you're having some big feelings. Because the body and the brain is in a little shock. It's like, whoa, we haven't done this before. We haven't been here before. This means something. This is different. And we're not getting the result that we anticipate or that we have an expectation for, which places us in a rigid, myopic reality. And anything outside of that or that deviates outside of that to give us that confirmation and validation of, I'm worthy, I'm okay, I'm safe, we start to panic. And we start to panic because we are just trying to protect ourselves. Your brain, your mind, your psyche is trying to protect you, to keep you safe. But in those moments, reflect, do some writing, share your concern with someone that you trust, go for a long walk. Don't overthink but feel. Recognize the value that you're bringing to the world. Know that maybe it's a deeper insecurity and you don't want to feed into that with desperate energy, with neediness or fear. Because that will distance you from that person you're attempting to get closer with. It will put them off, but more importantly, will reinforce a sense of low self-worth that you don't deserve to have. So, when you think you're being rejected or ghosted or not treated fairly, that could very well be happening. And take a moment just to look within and ask yourself, is part of this coming from me, this reaction or these big feelings that I'm having? Is it in a genuine response to something that's happening in the world outside of me? Or is it something that's coming up from my past? And you're not alone in this. We all have unconscious biases. We all have unconscious wounding and patterning. Maybe not all, that's an absolute strong word, but the vast majority of us do. And I can say this for certain. All of us have unconscious patterns, psycho-emotional, psychophysical, spiritual patterns, relational patterns that are running in the background that are either bringing us towards people or pulling us away from people, keeping us safe or maintaining safety for us, or we're running the other way or moving the other way because we feel unsafe. Attraction, repulsion. Just feel into that. Because that's how we're going to change these relationship dynamics. That's how you're going to show up differently. That's how you're going to help the other person see themselves through you and help them heal. You won't do the healing for them. They won't do the healing for you. But you will help each other through that interaction. Take a moment. The power of pause is super important and super profound, particularly in relationships. We rush too much to make decisions based on old reactive patterns that are just trying to protect us that no longer really have a place in today's world, in our reality today. And trying to shift that, we're going to feel like we're stuck in this hypocrisy because the old is battling with the new and the old wants firm ground because it's familiar and it feels safe, and the new is mysterious and it's new terrain to explore, and that comes with fear as well. But trust yourself, trust your path, and trust your journey. And just remember, if you're feeling disenfranchised in relationship, go within first. You'll be surprised how many answers you find there. Power and blessings to you. See you soon.